This is a review to prepare you for the quiz on the Pythagorean theorem and distance formulas. What I would recommend is that you pause the video and have students try to solve each problem, and then once they've had enough time to try to solve it on their own, then you can restart the video to show the solution to check and see if they've solved it correctly. So the first problem says determine if the side measures make a right triangle. And the sides given are 7, 24, and 25. To solve this problem, you should use the Pythagorean theorem. If the three side lengths make a right triangle, they have to be true when substituted in for A, B, and C in the Pythagorean theorem. Students should know that the longest side has to be substituted for C. So the order that these are written in, 7 squared plus 24 squared equals 25 squared, is just fine because the longest side is 25. Now I need to square each of these numbers. 7 squared is 49. 24 squared is 576, and 25 squared is 625. Now if I add together the two numbers on the left-hand side, I get 625. So both sides of the equation give me 625, so that means yes, this is a right triangle. It's a Pythagorean triple. Next problem, same thing, pause the slide and see if students can solve this problem on their own. Solving this problem using the Pythagorean theorem, we can keep the numbers in order again because the biggest number is 19, so that has to be C. And then the two smaller numbers are the legs, so the order doesn't matter for 12 squared and 15 squared. 12 squared is 144, 15 squared is 225, and 19 squared is 361. So if I add together 144 and 225, I get 369. So that is not the same as 361. So 12, 15, 19 is not a Pythagorean triple. So it would not be a right triangle. The next two problems, we need to find the length of the missing side. So to find the length of the missing side, students should use the Pythagorean theorem. So pause the slide and see if students remember how to use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And you do not have to memorize it, it's written on your quiz. The first thing that you should do is identify where the right angle is in your triangle. If it isn't marked, you can assume for this quiz that it is a right triangle because that's what we're studying. Now, remember if you go out from the point in the box where the right angle is and you go across the triangle, that takes you to your hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse has to be C and the other two sides can be A and B. If I plug in these values, I wrote A by 14. So 14 squared plus B is 6. So 6 squared equals C squared. Or you could use H squared. Solving the Pythagorean theorem, I need to square these numbers. So 14 squared and 6 squared. And then because we're looking for the hypotenuse, the numbers that we have are on the same side, 196 plus 36. So I do need to add those together. So that gives me 232 equals c squared. So then the square root of 232 Remember that key on my calculators is the second function and then the x squared key. So make sure you understand how to use that key on the calculator. And then if I round my answer to the nearest tenth, I get 15.2. One more Pythagorean theorem problem. So pause the video and see if you can solve this one on your own. So my right angle would be right here. And if I go out from the point, this time I know the hypotenuse is 19. The legs are A and B. So since one of them has an A, I will just keep that one A and then put B by 6. So A squared plus 6 squared equals 19 squared this time. So A squared plus 6 squared is 36 equals 19 squared, which is 361. This time, our equation has numbers on opposite sides, so I need to subtract the 36 to figure out what A squared is equal to, because I need my variable to be by itself. So instead of adding, like we did on the last problem, this time we need to subtract. So that gives me 325. So A squared equals 325. And then the square root of 325 is 18.02. So it's approximately 18, or 18.0 to the nearest tenth. The last two review problems are the distance formula. So please pause the video and try to solve this problem on your own. It's very important that you label your ordered pairs so they each have an x coordinate and a y coordinate. One of the ordered pairs gets the little ones and the other ordered pair gets the little twos. Now, when I substitute in my distance formula, remember the parentheses, subtraction, exponents, in the addition, all of this is always there in your distance formula. So now I'm going to substitute and replace x2 with -3, x1 with 4, y2 with -6, and y1 with 8. Now it's just the order of operations that we need to use. So inside the parentheses, we need to work inside the parentheses. -3 minus 4 is -7, and -6 minus 8 is -14. After the parentheses comes exponents. -7 squared is +49. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And -14 squared is 196. Now, if you add those together, you get the square root of 245. And the square root of 245 is approximately 15.65. So that 5 or more raised the score, so it's going to be 15.7 instead of 15.6. All right, our last one. So again, pause the video and try the distance formula. Label your ordered pairs again, x1, y1, and x2, y2. Remember the part of the formula that's always there. And then substitute to replace. x2 is 6, x1, -3, y2, -2, y1, -5. Now notice, this time inside the parentheses, we have some double negatives. 6 minus -3 turns into 6 plus 3. The double negative turns into a positive. And then in the other set, -2 minus -5 turns into -2 plus 5. So 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 squared, plus -2 plus 5 is 3, so 3 squared. So now I have the square root of 81 plus 9, which is the square root of 90. And the square root of 90 is approximately 9.5. That's the last example. So you should be ready to show what you know on your quiz now.